And good morning and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this very important segment today. On the 6th day of October, well, 6 days gone already. Well, it has been a wonderful festive beginning to the festive season, I must say, with the finishing of Navratri yesterday, with Vijayadashmi and Dussehra. Lots of celebrations all around Brisbane and throughout the world. And of course, in Brisbane, all the religious organizations and most of the mandirs, the temples were all very busy, and some finished on Tuesday with the Nomi, and other places went on to celebrate the Dashmi with the Dussehra, which was yesterday. Well, having said all that, welcome to this day, and of course in Brisbane at the moment is looking very, very good. It's not very bright, a little bit of cloud around, but it's very, very pleasant. Well, right now, let's get on with the news as we have a bit to get through. So the former head of ICCC outlines key priorities for balancing the nation's budget, which is a great concern. You must agree.
3 weeks out from the Labor government's first federal budget, the former head of the ACCC will today use a speech to outline what he sees as the key priorities for tackling worker shortages, wages and, importantly, balancing the nation's budget.
Rod Sims will not only argue for a tightening on companies paying higher taxes, but also advocate a carbon tax on the mining and energy sector. He joins us now from Canberra. Good morning to you. Welcome to News Breakfast.
Thanks, Lisa.
Yeah, looking ahead to this budget, under 3 weeks now, and even though Jim Chalmers keeps calling it doesn't keep calling, he's referred to it as the bread and butter budget, it's feeling like there's a whole lot more ingredients going into it for a pretty complex recipe.
Oh, look, I think these sort of discussions about tax, for example, take a bit longer than just 3 weeks away on the budget. So I suspect this is, my point is we just need to have a discussion about what level of tax we want, because obviously tax funds expenditure, and I think that's a fair way to go in that discussion that we probably won't get to by the October 25 budget, but hopefully the budget's after that.
In your speech that you're going to deliver, though, you do accept or acknowledge that income tax levels are pretty maxed out.
Yeah, look, I think that's right. I mean, over 70% of Australia's taxation comes from income and company tax, and yet we're not taxing our oil and gas enough, we're not taxing minerals enough, we don't have a land tax, and of course, crucially, when we're trying to have a transition to a low carbon economy, we don't have a carbon tax. Now, how we expect to achieve our climate change objectives without changing relative prices where carbon intensive activity pays more than low carbon intensive activity, I just don't know. So I think there's some many tax bases we have to look carefully at, and there's plenty of revenue in them.
Right, okay. On the carbon tax, though, we've gone down that path before and it got dumped pretty quickly, and the trend hasn't seemed to be there even sort of around the world either, that it's more trying to give incentives rather than taxing to lower emissions.
I understand that completely, Lisa. We don't have the budget room to give incentives. And by the way, if you're giving incentives for things like buying electric vehicles, just to take one example, it's only the richer people that can afford them. The incentives are going to come from general taxation. So it's a regressive way to achieve our climate change objectives. On the other hand, with the carbon tax, you can use some of the proceeds to offset the effect on low income earners, and so it's a much more progressive way of doing things. I think my point would be, we now have a lot of people saying they want action on climate change. I think it just has to be understood that you can't do that without changing relative prices. We can't afford it through subsidies, we have to do it through taxes. The transition was never going to be costless, and so this is something we have to have a good discussion about.
You're looking forward. I do just want to pull you back to this budget because you were an economic advisor to Bob Hawke back in the day, the former head of the ACCC. All the talk about the stage 3 tax cuts, what would you be advising right now?
Oh, look, I'll leave that debate to
others.
others.
Oh, no, don't do that to us, Rod Sims. Come on, don't do that to us. You've been at the forefront of economic discussions for so many decades. You'd have to have a view on whether they should be, pared back, shaved, changed.
My points, Lisa, are that I understand, and that's points all well made, but my point is that we have a lot of tax bases out there. We need to have a discussion about what expenditure levels we want. If we want higher expenditure, we can only do it through higher taxation. There's just no other way. We've got plenty of...
Is no other way. And Lisa, thanks so much for trying. So you did try to get that question across, but as we know, that many times, because he's got to deliver that speech and then he can't be disclosing all the facts right here. So that's, of course, understandable. But right now, the dairy giant accepts the rescue package to rebuild flood damages.
One of Lismore's most important factories left in ruins by February's floods. Now Norco has confirmed it will rise again.
When we rebuild, we will be rebuilding this facility with additional flood mitigation. All of the full-time people that are stood down will be offered a role to come back.
The rebuild will be backed by around $45 million in government grants, support Norco welcomes despite being less than what it asked for. The farmer-owned co-op will put in around $60 million of its own funds, taking on debt to make up the shortfall.
We have had to play the ball that's coming down the pitch, of course. We need to make sure that we right-size our project for the funding that we're able to put in.
Some suppliers are questioning the decision to rebuild on the banks of the flood-prone Wilson's River.
Just my major concern is that it's not a burden on farmers, and it really needs to be profitable if we've got to put our hands in our pocket.
I think this is probably a logical choice to rebuild here. Based on if it went to a greenfield site, I couldn't see the funding happening.
The company says plans are in place to lift equipment above February's record flood level.
Electrical cabinets and all that goes up in the mezzanine.
So there you go. What do you reckon? Should they build right there, even though it is flood prone, and spending that kind of money? We're talking about 40 plus 60, over $100 million. So, is it the right decision? Or if you are rebuilding, why don't you look for a place where you'd be safer in the long term, in the long run? Well, that's a decision that's to be made, and we'll see how it goes. Well, Indigenous barristers to investigate Hawthorn, as we know of those allegations of racism.
2 weeks after racism allegations rocked the football world, the AFL says it's found the right people to investigate.
We were asked to look at this. We've made the decision to put an independent panel in place. We have. I feel we are taking this incredibly seriously, and we are doing as we've been asked to do in a very difficult circumstance.
But the players and families at the centre of the claims have doubts.
It's not possible for the AFL to establish and pay for an inquiry and at the same time be independent.
The panel will be led by King's Counsel.
So there you go. Do you have your own counsel and be fair? Or do you give it to an independent body? My take on that is always the independent body. If you get investigation panel on your payroll, well, there are questions, and even though there might be all qualified people suitable, but even then, it just does not feel right in this time. Well, right now, let's go to Northern Territory, where the government says, there is a government backflip on wages in Northern Territory.
Union! NT unions and the Labor government locked in a years-long stalemate until...
Today we smashed the wage freeze.
The government announced a 4-year public sector wage freeze back in 2020 to rein in government spending. About half the public service agreed to give up pay rises for one-off bonuses, but key sectors like teachers and nurses held out. In the face of soaring inflation and interest rates, along with the threat of more protests, the government has backed down.
Cost of living in the Northern Territory has increased, and it is appropriate for us to change our policy in acknowledgement of that.
Today's backflip really shows how the power of people can turn a decision of the government.
Now that a pay rise is on offer, it's back to the negotiating table to figure out just how big it'll be. And the thousands of public servants who already agreed to a pay freeze and received $4,000 bonuses won't miss out either. A clause in their agreement means they'll be able to go back and argue for a pay rise too.
Unions are asking for at least 4%.
So there you go. That's a great win. But of course, it's once again that balancing act as to where do we stop, where the cycle keeps going on. There is increases which begins at eye level, and then it gets passed on and on and on and on, and so the cycle goes on. So even though the wages might go up in the amount, the dollars that you bring home, but the dollars that you have to spend on your living expenses and things like that, if that goes up as well, so where are you? You're in the same place. You start paying more for this, you start paying more for that, you start getting more. So everything just keeps going up in terms of the value or the numbers, but it is still the same throughout. People still have to live, they eat, they have to have clothes, schooling, and all of those things that go on. Right, from Northern Territory, let's go to New South Wales, where the government announces plans to raise the wall of the Warragamba Dam.
With the threat of future flooding looming large, Premier Dominic Perrottet is pushing back at the tides of criticism. He says his government wants to raise the Warragamba Dam wall.
Today, after decades of talk, this project becomes a reality.
The Premier says increasing it by 14 metres will reduce the number of evacuations and homes inundated. It was floated in a recent flood inquiry report, but not something it recommended. His government's given the project critical state significant infrastructure status, effectively making it immune from legal challenges.
I don't want unelected bureaucrats making decisions and getting in the way of saving lives and protecting property.
This government will not build or raise Warragamba Dam wall. They've had 12 years to do something about it and they've done absolutely nothing.
Today, the Premier pressed the flesh with the SES, but their former Deputy Director General says raising the dam is brainless.
This is very poor public policy. It's designed to get the Premier past a very difficult environmental impact statement process.
Many are concerned the plan could promote further development on the floodplain and impact biodiversity and significant Aboriginal sites upstream.
For a whole lot of history, both natural and human, in that valley are going to be flooded under dam waters.
We put people before plants.
100% raise the Warragamba Dam.
No, it's a silly idea.
The Premier's denied he was in a rush to announce his commitment to raising the wall 6 months out from a state election. He says the work has been ongoing and wants construction to begin as soon as possible. Before that happens, it'll need federal support. The Premier's asked the PM to split the cost, but the controversial project is something Mr Albanese's been non-committal over. Tim Swanston, ABC News, Sydney.
So there you go, just raise the wall, and of course, what about all the other neighbouring areas and the consequences of many other sites that will go underwater? And of course, the possibility of that ever breaking, that would be devastating as well. Well, anyway, that's the way things go, and let's see if he gets the federal support and the federal funding to go ahead with that. Alec Baldwin reached a settlement with that cinematographer.
Actor Alec Baldwin and the producers of the film Rust have reached an undisclosed settlement with the family of Helena Hutchins, the cinematographer killed on set by a prop gun. For more, North America correspondent Jade McMillan joins us from Washington. Hello to you, Jade. Take us through the details of this settlement.
Well, good morning, Lisa. It's been nearly 12 months since Helena Hutchins died after a gun that Alec Baldwin had been holding during rehearsals on the set of this film Rust discharged, firing a live round and killing the cinematographer, also injuring the film's director, Joel Souza. The full details of this proposed settlement are being kept confidential and it's still subject to court approval, but Miss Hutchins' husband, Matthew, has confirmed today today that a wrongful death lawsuit that had been filed by her family is being dropped. He's also described her death as a terrible accident, and he's revealed that filming is set to resume now in January and that he'll be an executive producer, while Joel Souza is also coming back as the film's director. He says that he wants to honour Helena Hutchins' memory. Now, Alec Baldwin maintains that he didn't know the gun had live ammunition. He has also insisted that he didn't pull the trigger, although the FBI found that the weapon was functioning normally and that the trigger would have had to have been pulled. But the actor has posted a statement on Instagram. He has said that he's pleased to announce the settlement, that everyone involved has tried to do what is best for Miss Hutchins' son, and he says that he's grateful to everyone who helped resolve what he called a tragic and painful situation.
So is this the end of it?
It brings, it looks like, this particular case to an end, but the producers of Rust are still facing several other lawsuits, civil cases from crew members, and the police investigation into this incident is still underway. And we've heard from the District Attorney's Office in New Mexico today where this incident occurred. They have said that if the facts and evidence warrant criminal charges under New Mexico law, then charges will be brought. No one is above the law. So they are suggesting...
And correct that no one is above the law. Of course, for that gun to have been fired, someone had to put the live ammunition in it, and they must have known that it's a real gun and it does work, so, and someone would have pulled the trigger. Well, law and order must prevail, justice must be done. Ladies and gentlemen, right now it's time to go to our Daily India report.
Welcome to the Daily India Report that brings you reports, interviews, features and more on India and the Indian diaspora. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi had a telephone conversation with Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky and underlines endangerment of nuclear facilities could have catastrophic consequences.
Prime Minister Modi had a telephonic conversation on October 4th with Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky and asserted that there can be no military solution to the Ukraine conflict. Modi also underlined the endangerment of nuclear facilities could have catastrophic consequences. During the call, the two leaders discussed the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. Officials said Modi reiterated his call for early cessation of hostilities and the need to pursue the path of dialogue and diplomacy. Modi conveyed India's readiness to contribute to any peace efforts. Modi also reiterated the importance of respecting the UN Charter, international law and the sovereignty and territorial integrity of all states. Modi emphasized the importance India attaches to the safety and security of nuclear installations, including in Ukraine. He underlined that endangerment of nuclear facilities could have far-reaching and catastrophic consequences for public health and the environment. The two leaders also touched upon important areas of bilateral cooperation, following up on their last meeting in Glasgow in November 2021.
Jio to start beta trial of its 5G services in 4 cities from October 5th.
Reliance Jio has announced the start of the beta trial of its true 5G services for Jio users in 4 cities, Mumbai, Delhi, Kolkata and Varanasi on the occasion of Dussehra on October 5th. The company also unveiled a Jio welcome offer that will enable the invited customers to trial true 5G services and provide service and user experience feedback. The company stated that Jio's true 5G network is getting ready in these metros. Jio's welcome offer will enable its invited customers to trial true 5G services and provide service and user experience feedback. A company statement said that with over 425 million users, Jio's mission with 5G is to speed up India's transformation into a digital society. Under the Jio True 5G welcome offer, users will get unlimited 5G data with up to 1 Gbps plus speeds. The invited Jio welcome offer users will be automatically upgraded to the Jio True 5G service without needing to change their existing Jio SIM or 5G handset. The beta trial will be announced in other cities progressively as cities keep getting ready. Jio is also working with all smartphone brands to enable their 5G handsets to work seamlessly with Jio True 5G services. Companies like Samsung, OnePlus, Vivo, Oppo and Apple are some of the top smartphone brands that offer 5G ready smartphones in the country.
The Indian government has proposed reservations for Pahadi, Dalit and tribal communities in Jammu and Kashmir Union Territory.
Indian Union Home Minister Amit Shah on October 4th announced the proposal of a scheduled tribe reservation for the Pahadi, Gujjars, Dalits and tribal communities in Jammu and Kashmir. The announcement came at a public rally held in J&K's Rajouri town on the eve of the Hindu festival of Dussehra. Explaining the move, Shah said the tribal reservation would not have been possible without removing Articles 370 and 35A in Jammu and Kashmir. Shah made the announcement to enthusiastic members of the Pahadi community who had reached the venue from different parts of Rajouri and the neighbouring Poonch district. The Indian minister said minorities that include Dalits, tribals, Gujjars and Paharis will get their rights. He said the abrogation of 370A cleared the process for reservation. Justice Sharma's commission has sent the report and recommended reservation for Gujjar, Bakarwal and Pahadi communities. Shah added the Modi government had rid Jammu and Kashmir of being ruled by just 3 families. It is clear that recent moves, including the one for reserving seats for minorities in the electoral process, has set the stage for polls in the Union Territory.
Just ahead of the Dussehra festival, the Indian community in Dubai opened the doors to the second Hindu temple that houses 16 Hindu deities.
The Indian community in the United Arab Emirates city of Dubai inaugurated a second Hindu temple on October 4th. The temple opened to the public on October 4th. The grand opening on October 4th was attended by Sheikh Nahyan bin Mubarak Al Nahyan, Minister of Tolerance and Coexistence, and the Indian envoy to the UAE, Sanjay Sudhir. The temple was built in 3 years as clearances from the officials in the Community Development Authority, Dubai Municipality, Dubai Police and the Dubai Land Department were obtained even during the pandemic at its peak. The land for the temple was given by the UAE government in 2019. The temple's distinctive architecture is likely to attract tourists as well. It is built on an area of 80,000 square feet. It is located in the worship village area of Dubai's Jebel Ali. The specialty of the temple is that it houses 16 deities including Shiva, Krishna, Ganesh and Mahalakshmi along with the Guru Granth Sahib. In total, there are only 2 temples in Dubai, the first of which was built in 1958. The newly inaugurated Hindu temple will be the second temple. The new temple will be open for devotees via bookings only till Diwali. After Diwali festivities, the temple will be open to all with Aarti ceremony held daily.
The Bombay Stock Exchange Index Sensex soared 1,200 points on October 4th on positive global cues.
Positive global cues and encouraging data from the banking sector on October 4th, resulting in Indian equity market indices BSE Sensex soaring by nearly 1,277 points and investor wealth jumping by 5.66 lakh crores or nearly $70 billion. The sharp rebound came as the Dow Jones Industrial Average soared over 765 points, while the Nasdaq Composite rose 2.3% as US Treasury yields softened and an unexpected slowdown in the US manufacturing PMI led to some optimism that the US Fed would slow the pace of policy tightening. In India, a key factor behind the rally was the positive domestic conditions as reflected by strong business updates given by commercial banks amid expectations of a strong festive season. Among the Indian lenders, Yes Bank reported a nearly 12% growth in loans for the July to September quarter compared with the same period in 2021. Other banks have also reported double-digit growth in loans over the second quarter of 2021 to 22. After opening firmly at 57,506.55, the Sensex crossed the 58,000 level. The index subsequently ended at 58,065.47, a rise of 1,276.66 points or 2.25%.
Air India has announced 20 additional flights to cities in the US and UK cities.
Since the takeover by Tata Group, Air India has continuously upgraded its services and bolstered its international footprint. Now Air India has announced 20 additional flights every week to Birmingham, London and San Francisco. This is part of the airline's ongoing endeavour to reclaim its position as a leader on the international aviation map. The additional flights to these 3 global destinations will be introduced in a phased manner from October to December 2022. With 5 additional flights a week to Birmingham, 9 additional flights to London and 6 additional flights a week to San Francisco, Air India will be able to offer over 5,000 additional seats every week to customers and ensure ample choice in terms of connectivity, convenience and cabin space. Air India's current schedule of 34 flights every week to the UK will now go up to 48 flights. Birmingham will receive an extra 5 flights per week, 3 from Delhi and 2 additional from Amritsar. London will receive 9 additional weekly flights, of which 5 are from Mumbai, 3 from Delhi and 1 from Ahmedabad. Altogether, 7 Indian cities will now have non-stop Air India flights to the UK's capital. Flights from India to the United States will increase from 34 to 40 per week. Air India will now connect Mumbai with San Francisco with a 3 weekly service and reinstate a 3 times weekly Bengaluru operation. This takes Air India San Francisco offering from 10 to 16 weekly with non-stop service from Delhi, Mumbai and Bengaluru.
The visiting South African cricket team avoided a complete whitewash in the ongoing T20I series and won a match with a thumping victory over India.
South Africa avoided a series whitewash as they put on a dominant show at the Holkar Stadium at Indore in Madhya Pradesh state. The Indian team was missing several key players. Visiting South Africa registered a massive victory in the third T20I of the series. Despite the win by South Africa, India won the series by a 2-1 margin. Indian skipper Rohit Sharma won the toss and chose to bowl first. Opener Quinton de Kock looked his fluent best as he made 68 runs in just 43 balls and put up a quick-fire 90-run partnership with Riley Rossouw for the second wicket. Rossouw went on to hit his maiden T20I ton in just 48 balls. David Miller's 5-ball 19 helped South Africa finish with a big total of 227 on the board. For India, Deepak Chahar showed prowess with the bat with a quick-fire 17-ball 31, while Umesh Yadav entertained the crowd with an unbeaten knock of 20. But it was not enough as India fell short of the target by a big margin as they were bowled out for 178. Dwayne Pretorius was the pick of the bowlers with 3 wickets to his name, while Parnell, Ngidi and Maharaj took 2 wickets each.
Famous South Indian actor-politician Chiranjeevi's big release Godfather is much awaited. The film's title track has been released. Bollywood superstar Salman Khan has an extended cameo in his maiden Tollywood film.
South Indian cinema megastar Chiranjeevi is geared up for the release of his film Godfather, which has created a fair deal of buzz among his ardent fans. The film features him in the titular role and promises to be a treat for the mass audience. The makers of the film released the film's title track on October 4th, much to the delight of fans. The title song of Godfather highlights the protagonist's virtues and builds an aura around him. It is composed by S. Thaman. Chiranjeevi, who will be seen in a new avatar in Godfather, shared the song on Twitter and wrote, "The massive and majestic aura of megastar at K. Chiru tweets, #Godfather title song out now, #Godfather on October 5th, at being Salman Khan, at Jayam_Mohan Raja, #Nayanthara, at actor Satyadev, at Music Thaman, at Ramjo Writes, at producer NVP, at Saregama South. Godfather is an adaptation of the Malayalam hit Lucifer starring Mohanlal and Manju Warrior. The Telugu film has a strong cast that includes Nayanthara, Satyadev and Murli Mohan among others. Bollywood star Salman Khan has an extended cameo in his maiden Tollywood movie. He plays a character similar to the one played by Prithvi Raj in Lucifer. Salman will also be seen grooving alongside Chiranjeevi to the Thar Maar Thakkar track. Godfather is a political thriller directed by Mohan Raja. The film releases in theatres on October 5th.
That's all for this bulletin of the Daily India Report.
Astral Entertainment and Diamond.
Music somehow flew in me very effortlessly.
Platinum Events, Astral Entertainment and Diamond Punjabi Production presents Shreya Ghoshal live in Brisbane. Celebrating 20 years of musical journey. On the 9th of October at Brisbane Convention and Exhibition Centre. Tickets are available on ticketek.com.au. If you haven't booked your tickets, buy them today.
flew in me very effortlessly.
Platinum Events, Astral Entertainment and Diamond Punjabi Production presents Shreya Ghoshal live in Brisbane. Celebrating 20 years of musical journey. On the 9th of October at Brisbane Convention and Exhibition Centre. Tickets are available on ticketek.com.au. If you haven't booked your tickets, buy them today.
And we are proud to be supporting that event as well. It is an excellent event. So if you haven't got your tickets yet, please do get your tickets for the one and only Shreya Ghoshal live in concert right here in Brisbane at the Convention Centre. Tickets are available via ticketek.com. Please check our website, Australian Indian Radio and Brisbane Indian Times Facebook page and our event section as well. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's wonderful to be back, and it's so wonderful to have your company once again. Until tomorrow, it's goodbye from us.